Day in Woburn. My name is Samantha Stone. I'm your host today, and we have an amazing list of guests today. We've got a lot of folks on. There's a lot going on in the city, and I'm excited to catch up with you. As always, we'll start with Mayor Scott Galvin. Scott, you'll appreciate this. In the mail today, I was sitting here as I was waiting to dial in, and I got your letter about running for re-election, and always like to see active election cycles and things. So
yeah,
the community.
Yeah, it'll be an active. It should be active, and we'll see what happens. For the summer, and we'll get out there. We'll get out there and do our thing in the summer, and then gear up in September and October and take it from there. But
awesome.
Good to get out there.
Yeah, I always like getting that kind of mail. So it's better than the bills.
Yeah.
So we also have a couple other things going on right now. So we have, I think it's June 24th. There's a meeting about the Plimpton School lot. Is that happening at the library? Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So for those who are not familiar with it, the Plimpton School is a grounds that has not been utilized for a number of years. It is scheduled to be demoed and used for open space, and that meeting on the 24th, I think Scott, as well as Jeff Dillon, who's the city councilor for Ward 3, which is where the school is located, also where I'm located, and they're going to be having that meeting to sort of talk to the community about the timelines and what's happening there, and how all those pieces fit together.
Great. So just to follow up on that, it has been used by the city over the years since it closed down as a school in different capacities. At one point, it was being continued to be used as the after-school program for the YMCA, and it was pretty active, actually very active. It's been continuously used as storage for the city, and we also have the fire department's. Fire department is working out of there. They have some of their equipment there, and also the DPW. So it has been continued to be used since it was closed as a school, and it's a handy and a valuable building for the city. It has outlived its usefulness. I mean, it's at a point now where we are going to be moving on, and we've talked to the neighbors about this in the past. We put up money to demo it, and we put up money to have one of the engineers do a study on what needs to be done. Anytime you take down the building, you have to do a hazmat assessment or an assessment to see what type of materials are in the building to protect the neighborhood. So we've done that. We're working on that. We do have some continuing, and we were set back a little with COVID, but one of the things we're doing with the city, Samantha, is digitizing all our documents, and we've fallen a little bit behind that, and that's one of the areas where we store our documents, along with, like I said, the fire department. So it's really to give the neighbors an update on where we are, what the timeline is, and the commitment's still there. And I know, I've talked to one of the neighbors who's a former city councilor, and she knows the process and what's going on. She knows what we're doing. It's not moving as fast as most people would like, but we're here to just reassure them that we are on track, not quite as fast as people would like, but there still is the commitment to knock down the building and put a little bit of open space in that neighborhood.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the update. I actually had no idea it had been used that often for so many different purposes. So that's great. So those of you who are watching, if you want to join the meeting, that'll be on the 24th at the library, and there's more information on the city's website. You can get the details there. I think it's at 6 o'clock. But don't hold me to that time because I didn't write it down.
6 is good.
Okay, good. Thank you for validating that. I also noticed that we have there's Waste Management sponsors a scholarship for those students who are choosing higher education. This is a great opportunity to get some money towards tuition and such.
That's good. So Waste Management has been and I think I'd have to say 99% of the people in the community are very happy with the trash and recycling service we have. It's a real generous service that they've been providing. One of the other things they do is some community service, and they offer 3 scholarships of $1,000 every year, and those scholarships are for students who are either going on to a 2-year or 4-year college, or even the military. So we encourage all students who are moving on to college or to the military to apply for the scholarship. It's it's an easy one to apply for. You don't have to do any essays or anything like that. So it's kind of a layup for students who have worked hard over the past year. And
that's great. And the deadline is the end of July, so people certainly still have time to fill that out, which is great. Excellent. The other thing I wanted to talk about was we have a vaccine clinic coming up, and Colleen Cormier is going to chat with us a little bit in her nurse capacity about vaccinations and what to expect for those who haven't done it yet.
Good.
There's a lot of good incentives right now to do it, right? The state just launched mass Vax Millions, very, very punny, as you might say, which is quite a significant amount of money. And just to be clear, because we had a little chat in my household about this, you can enter whether you got vaccinated earlier or now. So anybody vaccinated at any point in time can register to win quite a large lottery.
Yeah. So there's, we and Marie will tell you, along with Colleen, we're up at the Senior Center Thursday. We, as we expected, the state has loosened up the vaccine quantity, so we're able to get our hands on some Johnson & Johnson, some Moderna, and Thursday we've got a clinic scheduled for 3:30 to 5. That's the first one, but we plan on doing them every Thursday, and we're also reaching out to Armstrong to see if we can do some on Saturdays. They've been helping us out, and one of the things, we can't compete with the Mass Millions, but they're giving out grants to the city. So Karen DeCampo, the city nurse, was able to get her hands on American Express gift cards for $25. So we'll be doing some incentives. It's not quite as, it's not the same incentive as the Mass Vax Millions, whatever they call it, but it's still something,
it's probably a higher chance of getting an American Express card than winning the.
All you have to do is sign up to get it. So we'll be doing that as an incentive. So that'll be good. And just to touch on our numbers, Samantha, we're at 60% fully vaccinated in Woburn, which is good. We'd like to be better. 67% of all residents have got at least one shot. So we're making progress, and we think that by us supplementing the state's efforts, we should be able to get up in that 70-75% area by the end of the summer.
I love it. And for those who haven't looked at it, the gift cards are actually really nice and generous. I'm glad that they're offering that. Making it available and convenient at the senior center right here in Woburn is also fabulous. And then if people are interested in sort of the big state lotteries that are going on for children who are under 18 but eligible for the vaccine, it's actually a scholarship, which is kind of amazing. For a handful of people are going to win some pretty generous tuition money for their future. So awesome going around. Thanks for joining us, Scott. Anything else you want to cover off before I pop over?
No, I know you got it busy. I'll hang in there, and I'm going to hang in, but listen, I'll turn my mic off. But you got a good show, and
Great.
Thanks for what you're doing today, Samantha. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for joining us as always. Welcome, Colleen.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good. So those of you who are here in Woburn and loyal watchers know Colleen on the school committee, but we are not talking about schools today. Colleen is also a nurse and somebody that I ask all my medical questions of. She's definitely my go-to person, and she has been doing vaccinations in her professional capacity and also helping out the community a little bit in some different ways, and so was generous enough to come on board and chat with us today. I'm glad you're joining us.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner in juvenile detention facilities, so I work with adolescents mostly, but vaccinations have always sort of been a passion of mine, so I'm glad to come on and answer any questions and talk ad nauseum about them.
Thanks. Well, we won't let you talk ad nauseum about them, but we'll definitely get. I do want to particularly, so there's a new population of people who are eligible for vaccines who are 12 to 17. And whenever we make decisions for ourselves as adults, it's sometimes an easier decision than making decisions for our children, right? Because we have different types of concerns and things that we have going on. And I know you've helped a lot of families learn about the vaccine and make decisions for themselves and for their children that are good decisions for them. What are some of the common concerns that families have raised with you as they've been making the decision whether or not to take it?
Sure. So the kids that I work with, the teens mostly, are first concerned about injections hurting. It seems like a lot of that stems from their childhood vaccinations. They were a lot smaller then. There was a lot more anxiety around it. They were nervous. And invariably, every time I give a vaccine these days, no matter how much hemming and hawing is involved, they say, "Oh, that's it." So, yes, that's it. That's what literally, it is a pinch. When I got my vaccine, both times, because I got Moderna, I felt the pinch. I didn't feel like it actually went in. It did, like I can assure you, but it literally is so finite an amount of actual what you're feeling. It's the same needle size that we use for all of the vaccinations, flu vaccines, meningitis, hepatitis. So it's not much bigger and scarier. Of course, I always get the conspiracy theorists say, well, I hear there's a microchip or a tracking device. And I say, well, why would the government care where we are? Like, to be honest, I have a tracking device. I have a couple of them.
They can just take my phone
in my pocket. And, they're going to get bored pretty quickly if they're tracking me. A lot of what I've been hearing too is the speed with which they created this vaccine. And, what a lot of people don't know is that this messenger RNA technology that they're using, it's not brand new. We've been using it for at least a decade. They used it in cancer treatments. And, the COVID-19 virus is in the family of coronaviruses. This is not just this one particular virus. This is just a novel one. But SARS, which we know from the early 2000s, was a coronavirus. And so this is a vaccine that they've been working on for years. It's not like March 2020 came around, they said, geez, let's start making a vaccine. This is something that they've been working on. And we know how to make vaccines now. At this point, people say, well, we don't know the long terms of the vaccine. And I say, well, I don't know the long terms of the virus. 600,000 people plus have died in this country from this virus. And even though we've had over 33.5 million cases, yes, these people have gotten better, but that doesn't mean they're back to 100%. You might survive the virus, but that doesn't mean you're going to walk away without respiratory, neurological, any number of issues. And so this is sort of there's that unknown, but I know that when I take this vaccine, it's going to improve my chances.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I think those are really common things. And look, we joked about the microchip, but concern about vaccines is fair, and everyone should do their education and always understand what's happening to their bodies and for their children. And so people, have valid questions and concerns, and I love that you've been talking with families about them and helping answer those questions for them. One of the things that I think is a known challenge for people is side effects. So the vaccines work very, very well. The data is actually incredibly positive about it. And myself included, I didn't have any personal side effects from any of the vaccines that I had. I had family members who were kind of out for a day and uncomfortable for a little bit. What do you sort of guide people on in terms of what to expect if they do in fact have some type of side effect reaction?
Sure. So most commonly, that's going to be pain at the injection site. And when you stick a needle into a muscle, you're going to feel it when there's injection of anything, water, but this actually, the serum that we're using, that's going to cause some pain, and that's understandable. We're also seeing some fever, muscle aches, headaches, fatigue, the kind of the standard stuff. And honestly, to me, that's your immune system working. Your viruses, when you're doing these vaccinations, you're teaching your immune system how to fight. And it makes sense that the immune system, you're going to see, I'm feeling a little run down. Personally, I felt really tired the next day. I don't tend to get fevers, but, my arm was a little sore, but I would expect that, and I don't think that should keep people from getting a vaccine. And the nice thing about this is we've known that the second one kind of throws you for a loop sometimes. So you plan ahead and you say, okay, I'm going to take the day, I'm going to do it on a Friday. I'm going to do it when I have a day off, or something like that, just so you can sort of plan accordingly. A lot of people were getting a rash 1 week later for like a day. And that was it. And we knew to expect it. And so we were prepared, and it wasn't this big scary thing. But a lot of people, yes, are getting that sort of 1 to 2 days after, not feeling great. But we don't recommend that you take anything beforehand, like anti-inflammatories, anything like that. But after the fact, that's fine. We want to give your immune system a chance to do what it needs to do. But afterwards, if you want to take, an ibuprofen or something, as long as you're able to do that in your everyday life, there's no contraindications for that, then it's totally appropriate to treat yourself after that.
Yeah. And I know I've read that they recommend Tylenol generally is what they recommend. Not that as the safest option to take after the vaccination. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty benign, I mean, even if someone's pregnant or more often than not, there's different variables with people. And so for the youth that I work with, we do not do aspirin because we shouldn't be giving aspirin to children. Personally, I take ibuprofen. I am not getting any kickbacks on that, but the Tylenol seems to be pretty, pregnancy is a main concern. And yeah, like, for your general fever, aches, Tylenol usually works pretty good.
Well, thank you for doing all that. And just as a reminder for folks in the state of Massachusetts, if you have a vaccine-related illness where you aren't feeling good, a day later, the good news is it'll generally pass within a day for most people. But if you need to take a day off work, that has to be paid work, and is a requirement in the state. So your employer has to support doing that. And I think in most cases, anecdotally, I've certainly seen generous policies there. So hopefully folks experience that, and the vaccination clinics there. So thank you so much, Colleen. Before I let you go, just one last thing. Once you are vaccinated, there's a bunch of things that we can safely do that we couldn't necessarily do as easily before, regulations aside, right? Just in terms of good health behavior, what are some of the things that will, once you're fully vaccinated, you should feel comfortable participating in?
Yeah, so after 2 weeks from your last dose, whether it's one dose of Johnson & Johnson or the second dose of Moderna or Pfizer, you are considered fully vaccinated. So at that point, and of course, everyone has different levels of comfort, but a lot of places, City Hall, the library, a lot of restaurants are okay with you coming around without a mask. And, but of course, you can continue to wear it if you feel most comfortable that way. I like the idea of social distancing. I've seen so much less strep throat, gastroenteritis, a lot of things that we normally would see a lot of in the flu. There's been like no flu. So just general hygiene stuff. I'm really excited about that. I love that everybody's washing their hands so much. But yeah, I think that
we found out a lot of us didn't wash our hands very well. Myself
or didn't do a good job. Maybe we were washing.
I washed my hands, but I wasn't really paying attention to what I was doing until I figured it out.
Yeah, it wasn't happy birthday twice, maybe.
It was not happy birthday twice. That's right.
But
I think
the
crevices.
Exactly, in the backs and but I think a lot of people are seeing how comfortable they are with certain things. So there's going to be a lot of, if we're going to meet up, we're going to meet up outside. The outside seating for restaurants has been great. But it's just that vaccination is just one more level of safety, of protection.
Great. Well, thank you all thank you, Colleen, for joining us and for catching us up with these vaccination clinics available to us. We want to make sure everybody has all the information available to them that they can. There's tons more information out there for lots of folks, but I appreciate, particularly as families are making decisions with their younger folks, and that's a group that you've worked a lot with. So appreciate your insight on that. What I'd like to do next is I'd like to invite Rebecca and Mary to join us. And then after that, Chief Rufo is going to chat with us for a little while as well. Rebecca and Mary, it's a little bit sad news that brings us together today, but I'm grateful that you can join us. Jemil Evans was in an accidental shooting a few days ago. We're here today to, let you know how much we're praying and thinking of your family and him, get to know him a little bit. But most importantly, there's a fundraiser happening that we can, we don't often have things that we can do in situations like this. We feel pretty helpless sometimes. And we're grateful that you're here today to give us an opportunity to support you and his future. So Mary, I don't know if you want to just kind of give us a quick update about how he's doing. I love the picture you have in the background there of his smiling face.
Thank you for doing this. And we appreciate all the support. I'm just overwhelmed with the tremendous amount of support from everybody. So right now, Jemil is he's still on his breathing tube. The doctors are hopeful that he will breathe on his own. He's still in the critical care, the surgical ICU. So that means, things come up. I've been checking my phone because my daughter's giving me constant updates. But with a serious condition like this, it's going to be a step forward, 3 steps back, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And the doctors explained that to us. He doesn't know yet that what the doctors are telling us, that he's paralyzed from the neck down. He's starting to kind of figure it out. Once it registers, that's going to be a really hard part. A 19-year-old. I mean, let's face it, if he has a scratch, somebody has to do it for him. The doctors are hoping for maybe some kind of upper body functionality. There's a huge difference between being paralyzed from the neck down, even chest down, to the waist down. So we're hopeful. We're hopeful every day. There is a little bit of progress. He was able to breathe on his own for 20 minutes the other day. He's had a few lung collapses. So, you know, he's in critical ICU. So we're grateful for the little bit of milestones that he has taken. Is he out of the woods completely yet? Nope, because he's still in the surgical ICU. But we're hopeful he will breathe on his own, and we will tackle his new normal and just go forward the best that we can. We've been given lemons. Let's try to make the best lemonade possible.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I can't even imagine someone who you love being in that situation. And I wish I could give you a big hug now. We're not taping in person, but you know, this is really hard. Rebecca, you have started a GoFundMe to support his care and, you know, trying to look a little bit at his future and stuff. Tell us a little bit about what your hopes are there, and Jen will make sure that it's on the ticker on the bottom, you know, where people can get to the link.
And thank you so much, Samantha. And thank you all for having us come on and talk about Jemil today. What we're trying to do with the GoFundMe is just kind of a forward thing. As you alluded to earlier, there isn't a whole lot that we can do to help him at this point. He has an amazing medical staff. His mother's been by his side, and his father and his grandmother. So what we're trying to do is forward think, as we know there are going to be astronomical medical costs that are going to be associated with this, as well as his journey is just continuing. He'll move from the ICU to maybe another floor and then rehab for an extensive period of time. All that's still up in the air, but there will be points where we as a family will need to come up with ways to care for Jemil, pay for the medical bills, if he needs if he needs a wheelchair, just some of the costs. We're really trying to forward think and get ahead of it and just put him in the best position to live his best life at this point.
And can I say something?
Oh, please, of course.
Of course.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely going to need equipment like a Hoyer lift and an electric wheelchair, and of course handicap housing and a handicap van, and that's all stuff down the road for when he does eventually get home. There's something else I want to say. I want to remind everyone how important it is on gun safety. We know this was an accident. Do I think it was a preventable one? Absolutely. A life change like that. Jemil's more than the other person. But gun safety is just huge. The other thing I want to mention for your viewers, people that don't know it, you know, summertime's here and people are swimming and, you know, summer kids are just motorcycles and whatever. If you ever see anybody with a neck injury, please do not move them. Call 911 immediately and stabilize them immediately. Maybe I thought that was kind of common sense, but maybe not. People, please tell your viewers, any kind of injury, you see a kid fall off a bike and he's not moving, don't move anybody. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you for bringing that up, because that is a very unfortunate lesson for us to learn. You know, Jemil's going to need many things in his future, short-term and long-term, and I'm glad we have a way to help try and support that. But you also need support. Is there anything, Rebecca, that you as a family need, in addition to financial support that we can provide to help support
That's a great,
hard.
yeah, it is very hard. And we graciously appreciate just everyone's outpouring of support and comfort and words. And we've seen stories of almost accidents that people have told us, or prayers, or just outreach to help additionally with monetary things. We're asking for everyone to pray for Jemil and his medical team. We really, that's the one thing we can ask, and everyone hopefully can do to whatever higher power they have, is just continue to pray for his recovery, pray for each milestone, and pray for the people that are taking care of him. I think the community has really done amazing and supported my cousin and my aunt in every way possible. And they will continue to need support. And it's just amazing that everyone has really resonated with this story and have offered so many kind things. And I can just say that the messages, a lot of them come through the GoFundMe, but they do get relayed to the family, and to Jennifer. I talk to Jennifer on a daily basis, not just about Jemil, but about herself, and making sure she takes care of herself and rests and eats. But it's hard as a mom, as you can imagine. Her heart is breaking, and she's in the hospital right beside him. And when she can't be there, she wants to be. So she's just so grateful that everyone's put their arms around them all and are loving them and supporting them through this.
Yeah, thank you for that. And we'll do our best to make sure that as time goes on, we're there to support you guys as well. Mary, just one last question. Tell us a little bit about Jemil. Before we started recording, you just spoke so fondly about who he is and things that he loves. Tell us a little bit about him as a person.
Jemil is just, his mother, first of all, he's got a great, close relationship with his mother and his great grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
She's 91. They have such a special bond. My mother has some medical issues, so my daughter Jennifer would come every morning to take care of my mom while I went to work. And now, of course, Jennifer can't. And so we've had to make other arrangements. But anyway, about 2 months ago, so Jemil, about 3 months ago, he was still 18 at the time. He turned 19 this past April. I called him up and I said, honey, Nana G, because I'm Nana Mary and my mom's Nana G, Virginia's her name. And I said, Jemil, can you come help Nana G? He goes, absolutely. I'll do anything for Nana G. So he comes into the house and he goes, Nana, I'll do this if I have to. I will, but do I have to wipe her butt? And I said, no, honey, you don't have to. But that was just the kind of kid. I mean, he's got a smart heart. He'd do anything. He's so loyal. He'd do anything. His mother wrote this little thing, and it's just so long, but he's just an amazing kid. And I tribute, or I give credit to the school and other members of the community that have helped raise this kid. And he's just turned out to be a kind, loving, never in trouble kid. And he's like, Nana, don't you worry. I got your back. I'll be taking care of you. I'll be making the money. Don't you worry. And he just was always thinking of other people. Just a great kid. He's the one that you'd see. He was at a party once and somebody sent me these videos, and there was a couple of kids who had like Down syndrome, and all the other kids are like playing games, this and that. Not Jemil. He's with those kids and playing with those kids. And that's just the kind of kid he is. Yeah. Becky?
Yeah. And
Go ahead.
I would agree there. I mean, we all got together for Memorial Day. It was really gloomy weather, and here he is, he's outside. My nephew happens to be Jemil's biggest fan. He's 13 and Jemil's his superhero. And he is trying out for football. So we were all playing football. I mean, ages from 2 to 38. We were out there running around and playing, and he's laughing. And every time the kids did anything memorable, it was, the victory laps and the stances. And I mean, it makes your heart so happy. He is just a kind, gentle soul. He really is just like one of those people that he was astute and funny, and he just has this heart of gold. And it just,
his teachers love him.
Yeah.
I mean, love him. He was like a favorite to so many of his teachers, and they're all so devastated, like we all are. The output of support from the community is just so overwhelming, and we cannot thank everybody enough for putting out what Jemil needs and any way people can help. This is obviously a catastrophical event, and we can't do it alone. So thank you. Yeah. I see some posts from some of his friends who donated like $7. I mean, they're just kids. They don't have any money, $5. And I think, oh my God, it just, yeah. So,
well, his heart of gold shows through you guys and, sharing about him. Thank you for doing it. I know this is hard, and I know it's really hard to take any time right now to even think about thanking anyone when you've got all this going on. And I'm so appreciative that you can come share who he is. And he has an incredible family and an incredible heart, and that's very, very clear. And I'm certain he's going to find a way to use that. It may not be the same way that he had originally intended, but he's going to find a new way because he's got you guys championing him. So please give hugs to all your family. And for those of you who are watching, we'll, of course, share again the GoFundMe account. We encourage you to participate and support everyone. And thank you so much for your time. I'd like to invite Chief Rufo to join us.
Samantha.
And you guys are welcome to stay on also, or pop off if you need to. I know there's a lot going on. So
Thank you, Samantha.
thank you guys so much. Chief Rufo, thank you so much for joining us. This is unfortunately a sad way to start our conversation today. Shootings are terrific, horrific no matter what. Accidental shootings are sometimes even more painful because they're sometimes preventable. Can you share a little bit with us about the charges that have been in place and sort of just our general policy when something like this happens? How do we make sure that everyone is, responsible and the right next steps are taken?
Certainly. Well, first of all, good afternoon. Well, he was charged with discharging a firearm within 500 feet of a dwelling, improper storage of a firearm. Again, I apologize for my voice, and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon.
Yeah. So very serious charges. There was, and I don't know if these are rumors, and I don't want you to share anything that is not public information. So feel free to let me know that there was my understanding that initially there was some false reporting about what might have happened.
Yes, there was.
Yeah, okay.
And that information
about
was
that, or charges related to that, or anything that might be forthcoming?
No, it was at the very onset of the investigation, in their attempt to disguise what actually had occurred. They had a fictitious story, which was very quickly proven to be false. And the investigation focused strictly upon what happened and not the story.
Okay. Well, we're grateful for the investigators being able to quickly identify what happened and resolve that. This unfortunate situation has raised a lot of questions in the community about firearm licenses. What are the requirements? What do people need to do to get one, and all of that? So maybe you can share a little bit, just educate all of us about what firearm license requirements are in Woburn and common questions people have.
Okay, the firearms licensing is handled under Chapter 140, basically sections 121 to 131. In 1998, there was firearms reform in Massachusetts, and under Chapter 140, Section 131P, prior to licensing, any first-time applicant has to complete an approved safety course, a safety course that's approved by the state police, or a hunter safety course that's administered by the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife. That is a course that deals with hunting, but a very significant portion of that course deals with firearm safety. It's probably, I mean, in my opinion, the hunter safety course actually has more content. As far as licensing, anybody that has attained the age of 21 can apply for a license to carry, provided they've got no convictions, any federal or state drug convictions or violent crime convictions, or any incarceration for mental health. And if there was something of that nature in a background, as long as the application was accompanied by the attending physician or a psychiatrist, the physician that states that the firearm would not impair that person's ability to have it. So that's the beginning. Then they're required to submit 3 reference letters. At that point, once all of that is given to us, we do a background check to determine if the license can be issued. There's an FID card, which is very, very similar requirements, but the firearms ID card is considered to be a shall issue law. So unless you have a disqualifying concern or in your background, the license for an FID card has to be issued.
And for those who are not familiar, can you just describe the difference between a license to carry and an FID card?
Okay, a license to carry handles all handguns, rifles, and shotguns, particularly high capacity rifles and shotguns or handguns. An FID card is primarily for non-large capacity rifles and shotguns.
And the FID card does allow you to transport and own, but it has different restrictions from a license to carry. Is that correct?
Right. Well, as far as transportation, if you transport a firearm in a vehicle with a handgun, it has to be unloaded and locked in a container unless it is carried on your person or under your immediate control. So we try to explain to people, if you're going to carry it in the car, it should be on you if it is loaded and it's not locked in a closed container. Rifles and shotguns have to be stored in a vehicle unloaded, but there isn't the locked requirement component of the law for rifles and shotguns.
Thank you. And in this situation, of course, with the accident happening, the firearms license was revoked.
Yes, it was. We have the option as the licensing authority to suspend or revoke. In this case, I took measures to immediately to revoke the license, and my intent will never to be reissue that license.
Thank you for confirming that. It certainly seems like the right action to take. And I know that in a situation like this where it's an accident, this is complex and challenging, and friendships and all kinds of things make this sadder, for us. But really appreciate you clarifying what the policies of the city are. A lot of folks have it. I know that there's no charges being filed for anyone from that sort of initial false story. Is there, when someone during an investigation makes a false claim, is there anything in terms of charges that might come from that for the person making the false claim, or was it early enough in the investigation we're focusing on the firearms violations?
It was determined pretty promptly at the onset that the story was most likely fictitious. And it was confirmed by immediate actions by, uniformed officers on the street, as well as our detective bureaus and the district attorney, state police that arrived on scene as well to help and assist with the investigation. So had it continued, if he perpetuated that story, there would have been charges such as filing a false police report. In this case, it did not meet that threshold.
Thank you for clarifying that. I do have some other questions for you, but before we let Mary and Rebecca go, Scott, I know that you had wanted to pop in as well. Are you still on? he might not be. I know
Well,
he's.
another thing I'd
There
like
you
to
go. There
say,
you go.
Yeah.
Okay, please. Go
Uh,
ahead, Chief.
people have to understand, firearm ownership is a tremendous responsibility. And not only in safe handling, storage, whether it's at home in a vehicle or carrying on their person, but proficiency, not at just shooting, but in handling. You see how two lives tragically changed in a split second. And I don't, people need to place far more attention into safe handling practices. Just over the weekend, there was a young man shot in Northeast Ohio that was actually on the range when he fired the handgun around, shell ejected and went into his shirt. Well, he went to his knees because it burns. He never took his finger off the trigger and he shot himself through one cheek and exited the other. It could have been a tragic injury, or it could have caused death. He was very, very fortunate. But again, basic marksmanship, safety issues, finger out of the trigger and handling is of primary responsibility of every firearms owner.
Yeah, thank you for reminding us of that. It's a, people go through safety courses. Everybody, of course's intentions are, I'm talking about people who are responsible gun owners. Their intentions are good, but when you make a mistake with a firearm, it's
forever.
life-changing mistake, right? It's not like I'm cutting the grass too low or I've forgotten to mail a bill. These are things that have much more dire consequences. So really taking those safety training seriously and learning all that. I know, Mary and Rebecca, we're going to let you go for a minute. I know Mayor Galvin had wanted to wish you well as well before we have you pop off.
Yeah, I do, and it takes a lot of courage to come on here, and the community is behind you, and like the chief said, this is just one of those things that a terrible incident, and it's going to change people's lives tragically, and you'll need all the support you can, and people behind you, and strength for Jemil. So we wish him well, and if there's things that we can do on our end, please reach out. The chief is there. I'm there. And I know Samantha's a great asset to have to put stuff out there. But please don't hesitate to call. I know your main concerns right now are with your nephew, your son, your grandson, but as I said, if there's something that we can do as this goes on, please don't hesitate to call.
Thank you for the call, Mayor Galvin. That was very nice. Thank you. And I spoke to Rufo, and thank you both. Thank you.
Certainly. And I'll reiterate what the mayor said. If you need anything, you have my number, and please feel free to call.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Rebecca. Really appreciate you joining and sharing. And we'll be continuing to have Jemil in our thoughts and our prayers. And hopefully we'll see progress and good updates over time. Please do stay in touch on that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Samantha. Bye-bye.
Chief Rufo, I do want to switch gears a little bit and talk about some other things. Obviously, an incident like this, a shooting, is tragic for both, in this case, the shooter, as well as the victim and such. But there are lots of additional things happening in the community. One of the things that I wanted to chat with you about is, over the summer, I think there's no more. I think the school is officially out today. Was the last day of school, which means we're going to have a lot of young people in the community, hopefully doing lots of fun things and enjoying each other again and being able to, get vaccinated and be around each other. But what are some of the things that you want us as a community to be keeping in mind over these summer months and when it gets hot and sometimes we have a little bit too much time on our hands?
Well, first of all, one of the programs who have partaken, taken in the last number of years is the Sheriff's Youth Academy. It's a Youth Public Safety Academy, which Sheriff Katusian runs at the Middlesex Sheriff's Office. This year, it will be virtual, and it's basically takes 8 to 12-year-olds from across the county, and they do 6 one-week sessions where they put you through this youth academy, and they've got drill instructors, and they learn a lot about law enforcement and community. Again, that is going to be conducted in an entirely different format, obviously, but virtually. Ken Doucette, who's the Director of Community Affairs for the Sheriff's Office, he can be emailed at the Sheriff's Office. I also have a number if you want to take it. It's 978-475-7408. And they will fill you in how to sign up for the program and give you the details of that program. And again, I mean, it was touched on earlier, especially about pools and pool safety. We want everyone to have a safe and happy summer, and just a degree of caution. Everyone's excited to get out and start living their lives again, and just be careful.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I also wanted to just personally thank you. I saw on the police Facebook page, which always has helpful updates on it, but also had a recognition for Pride Month on it. And I think there's a lot of people in our community who don't always feel safe and don't always feel like they know who to turn to. And little gestures like that, I think, mean a lot. And if even just one person saw that and they feel safer coming and asking for help when they need it, it's tremendous for us. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have a great relationship with everybody in our community. And we are open 24/7, 365. There is always someone there. A police officer always answers the phone. And we're always here to help.
Yeah, great. I really want to get you a hot cup of tea and a lozenge.
That sounds good.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about the community and everything. I'm sure we'll touch base again in a few weeks as things continue to open and get back to normal. It's hard work that your team does. It's really important work that your team does, and we're always here to help make sure we as a community can support that important work.
Well, thank you very much. And again, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
And we're going to wrap up our show with Marie, and we're going to talk about senior activities. So I'm super excited that we are finally in a position where you're getting back to some of the in-person stuff. Enough people are vaccinated and feeling safe and enthusiastic. Tell us what we've got going on.
Yeah, I mean, last month I took a look, and last month we had 300 check-ins, 306 check-ins. So it's not, some folks participate in several activities, but we, I don't call it a reopening. I just call it a scaling up, because we've always been open. But I think the key here is we're not packing it to the rafters. We've established some guidelines, 2-hour limits on activities and rooms. We have people sign up through software called My Senior Center. So folks register. We give out membership cards, memberships with a little scan. So people scan in, and we've got those, the devices at both entrances to the large community room, and then over here to the main doors. So we've got Qigong, we've got yoga. The pool players are back, card players are back, sewers are back, knitters are back. Art classes started up, woodworking. We're ready to open the new computer room back up again. So it's great. And it's great to see people enjoying themselves again. And so we've taken guidance from the mayor and great support from the mayor and the Board of Health, just to establish ways that we keep people set up the room and keep folks distanced. It's the same requirements if you are vaccinated. By and large, seniors are, by the way, that you don't have to wear a mask. A lot of folks still do. In a large crowd, I do. So I don't, and I don't feel like I have to apologize for that. So we make people feel comfortable around here. So there's lots of life here. We're going to start having some free time in the lounge area, like morning coffee. So from 9 to 11.
You make me want to retire. Look
come on,
woodworking and yoga.
Yeah, it's
all
good.
That good stuff. This is amazing. There's also a lot of work being done outside in the gardens. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, what a great collaboration between. It was actually Mayor Galvin that found out about this grant from the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. So we applied for it, got $29,000. to build. So it's the whole idea is sustainability. And everybody knows that groceries have gone up and seniors are on a fixed income. So the, the idea and everyone's excited about of growing a vegetable garden out there is great. So we got that funding support from the mayor and the DPW. So those guys have done a lot of the craftsmanship out there to build raised beds, and we've got a patio area. We'll eventually have a shed and a greenhouse, but for now we've got the 3 raised beds. And Catherine Shaughnessy, who's was a former city councilor, is on the cemetery commission and has a fantastic green thumb, is our coordinator. And so she helped, we planted all the beds. So it was still under construction. So next year it will be a little different, but we thought, let's just see what grows there. So, and then we'll give it away if something grows. It's looking pretty good.
It will. My children and I did a little garden many, many years ago, and they got bored of watering it after day like 3.
Yeah.
And I was determined to be theirs, but we had one. We pulled out a carrot, and it had like an inch of actual carrots, like the one little tiny little morsel of thing that grew there. We were not successful. You will be more successful. In terms of its like ongoing maintenance, are seniors who participate in the senior center, are they sort of helping maintain the garden, or is that being done by a specific group of people right now?
So I've been doing it. Catherine's been doing it. Paul Medeiros, who takes care of the building, he's been doing it. While it was under construction and you had to do a little climbing over things, so I waited. But we're about to get people involved in weeding. I can feel it happening. And a lot of folks have offered to help. They want to get involved. So I can see this taking off with more space to grow more vegetables. And we've also partnered with, and I should also mention the State Office of Elder Affairs, the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. We've also used some of that grant money to pitch in. So it's really a collaborative kind of thing. And now we've got this woman, Misty Flores, who you may want to talk to, of the she started the Yankee Dahlia Society. So it's a 501c3. So she's a Woburn resident. She saw the space we had up here, didn't really know about the garden. So they've got some space now, and they just planted about 100 dahlias in a bed that we set up for them. And they're going to do some workshops and, offer for sale some dahlias. And yeah, they'll do a series of workshops, and I think folks can get involved with them as well.
Oh, well, that sounds lovely. Flowers are the best. I have a friend who posts on Facebook Flower Friday, and it's like one of my favorite things to look at. And she just takes pictures of things in her garden or what she sees on her travels, which is lovely. One last little question before I let you go. I know I saw that there's bingo coming up.
Yes.
Is that just for seniors, or I know some communities have, sort of more general open, anyone can go. Tell us a little bit about bingo.
So for now, it really is just it's for persons 60 and older in that large room. So we're calling that the WSC Community Hall now. So we, I think it holds, I can't remember, between 100 and 150. Now before we had, so we're trying to do between 40 and 50. It's really popular, so it fills up. So our hours are more like City Hall now. We did the Thursday evening so that we could do we're calling it sunset bingo. Even the sunsets a little bit later, but at 5 o'clock. So we'll be doing that once a month. And there's a waiting list. So
wow, bingo is super fun. I actually, I've played occasionally myself. It's definitely an enjoyable thing. So I'm glad to hear so many people love it. That's amazing.
Yeah, and so we're still going to do the daytime ones, just so folks know. So we'll do that twice a month. So we're just starting off, and if the demand gets bigger, and we've got the hall here, so I'm open to other stuff. But
good. Well, thank you. And as I, can't end our discussion today without thanking you again for hosting the Memorial Blood Drive for my father-in-law, which is coming up in August.
Of course.
We have about half the spots filled.
Oh, cool. Great.
And so excited we're off to a great start to getting that scheduled and everything. So thank you for joining us and for getting everybody back out of their homes and active again. And I know that you have a whole host of services and a great newsletter and all kinds of things for folks. Just in case anybody doesn't know where to get the newsletter, where can they get that?
You can click on the, well, you can call the office at 781-897-5960 and sign up. You can also go to the city website as soon as it's available. I should be posting it either tomorrow or the next day. We just sent it in. And so I put the link right on the front of the page and you can link right onto it.
Nice and easy. That's the way I like it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And of course, as always, for those of you who are watching, please continue to take good care of each other.